when they ask you to speak at one of these things, they don't inform you that they're going to play a song that's going to have you sobbing right before it. Hi, my name's Laurel, and this is my husband, Matt. We're honored to be with all of you tonight, remembering each of our little ones. Even though their time with us was short, our gathering here today is evidence that their light still shines on. If I could just say one single thing to you, it's that I think you're a great parent. And if you're here to show your support, I think you're a really wonderful grandparent, sibling, family member, or friend. Finding ways to show love to a child that isn't with us anymore can not only be difficult, it can be painful as we feel the fresh waves of grief again. The courage to face those feelings and to love on our children is not only brave, it's sacrificial and tender. Each child represented here has a story, and they continue to make an impact on this world. Their lives continue to live on through us.
Tonight, we'd like to share with you a little bit about our son, Elijah Walter. His name, Elijah, from the Bible, a prophet of God, somebody that God did many great things in and through, and that we are just believing that God will continue to do great things through our son, Elijah, in our hearts. As we remember and celebrate his precious life.
And his middle name, Walter, is after a man named Walter Morrison. He is the man who invented the Frisbee. When Matt and I first met, we bonded over our love of playing Frisbee together. During those early days of our relationship, we would toss the Frisbee back and forth and talk about our hopes and dreams for our lives. At the time that we picked out Elijah's name, we already knew that he wasn't going to be with us for very long. But we wanted his name to remind us of those fun memories and that he was the fulfillment of one of our greatest dreams, even though it didn't look like we thought it would.
We, like so many couples, initially struggled to get pregnant. We prayed, hoped, and believed God would give us a child. And after 8 months, that dream came true when Laurel became pregnant with Elijah. She found out early one morning while I was away at work, and when I came home the next day, she surprised me with the news. We were ecstatic, scared, overjoyed, and completely unprepared. I look back on those first weeks of the pregnancy with joy, but with pain at the same time. Joy that God would give us this amazing gift, but pain and that we were blissfully unaware of the heartache and brokenness that we were about to experience.
At our 14-week ultrasound, it was revealed that his head was a concerning shape, and so we went in to see a specialist 2 days later. I thought they just had amazing availability. Turns out when they're really concerned, they get you in quick. It showed that he had a defect in his skull where it didn't finish forming, and it impacted the growth of his brain. It's called anencephaly. We were told that day that there was a 0% chance that he would live, but that it was very likely we would have a full-term pregnancy. I don't have to explain the weight of that moment to you, because each of you have experienced your own version of that moment as well, where you learned that the innocent dreams you had for your growing family had been dashed. No matter how many doctors told me that there was nothing I did wrong, I still carried the weight of feeling like my body had failed me and I had failed our son.
When we received the diagnosis, I was in disbelief, and it didn't really sink in the moment in the doctor's office. We walked out to the car and we just sat together in the parking lot and wept over the death of a dream. As men and as fathers, we're fixers. We see a problem, we see a need, and we go and solve and fix that problem. In my job, I solve problems and help fix critically sick and injured people. And here we are, I was faced with a situation and that my son had a fatal diagnosis, and I couldn't do anything about it. There was nothing I could do to protect my son, nothing I could do to save him, to fix him, to get him to be alive. And that was one of the hardest things, just swallowing that moment and that reality, just that truth that we're not bringing him home alive. The lie I told myself was that I was unworthy of being a father because I couldn't protect my son.
One of the funny but not funny things that I've connected with other lost parents over is all of the times well-meaning individuals have given us words of encouragement and advice. Some of my favorites were, "At least you're still young," and "You can always have another child." I know many of you have probably heard similar things before. In those times, I struggled to know how to respond in a way that would make them understand I didn't just want any child, I wanted this child. I spent months dreaming of what he would look like, how it would feel to hear his cry for the first time, and how amazing it would be to rock him in my arms. I remember someone telling me over lunch, "At least you get to enjoy a pregnancy." I smiled and agreed, but all I really wanted to do was sob. Just a few hours earlier, Matt and I had been going over funeral plans for our baby. My heart shattered in a new way every day, and I felt like I was on an island with everyone tiptoeing around me. I needed a hug, and I also needed to smash 1,000,000 glass plates. I didn't want anyone to look at me, and yet I was also begging to be seen. I wondered if people at the grocery store just looked into my eyes, would they be able to see that my world was falling apart? I felt like maybe if I could scream until I couldn't scream anymore, my pain might lessen just a little bit. For my neighbor's sake, I did not explore that option.
In between Elijah's diagnosis and death, we went in to get multiple ultrasounds. It was a surreal experience. We watched as our son would wiggle, dance, and respond to the probes of the machine. We asked ourselves, how could this be? How could our child not survive? It was so difficult to see his joy, knowing we would not get to bring him home. At 17 weeks, we went in for another ultrasound, and the staff couldn't find a heartbeat. The OB came to us and asked if we wanted to go to the hospital that night or the next morning for Laurel to deliver Elijah. We were shocked, and neither one of us were ready to let go yet. We gathered family and a few close friends that night to be sad together, but to praise our God who never left our side in that difficult time. The next morning, we arrived at the hospital, and Laurel began the difficult process of initiating labor through medicine. I watched as my wife experienced pain, both physically and emotionally, for many hours as the medicine worked. When Elijah finally arrived, it was bittersweet. We were excited to meet our son, to study the details of his body, and we were just amazed to see little toes and fingers perfectly formed. The beauty of his creation was astounding. We spent the next 24 hours in the hospital together with family and some friends while Laurel recovered. We played Elijah our favorite songs, talked about what we wanted to show him in the world, and our dreams together. We cried and laughed and cried again. Those 24 hours are sacred, precious memories that we cherish with our son.
When Elijah died, I felt like a part of me died too. I felt numb and hollow, like I was just wading my way through each day, reluctantly dragging my feet as I tried to move forward. But as the days went on, alongside the part of me that died grew this new thing, this new me. Slowly, my heart started to grow a little softer. The anger I felt shifted and became my ability to empathize and show love to those who are grieving. The sadness I felt turned into my motivation to continue to show my son love and to carry on his legacy in every way that I could. Speaking about his life and our journey gave me the courage to be vulnerable, knowing that his life would touch others and help people to understand this experience. If you had told me in those early days that things would get better, I would have been offended. Because how could life ever get better without my son? But time has worked on my broken heart in unexpected ways. I've seen days where talking about my son has brought me so much pride and joy as I think about his continued impact on my life. I've also seen days where the grief catches me by surprise and I have a good shower cry, just like in the early days. Both the joy and the sadness are my expressions of love for my child. I've made peace with the fact that there's no wrong way to grieve and to love him. And we'd like to finish with a quote that has really meant a lot to us. There is a place called heaven where the good here unfinished is completed, and where the stories unwritten and the hopes unfulfilled are continued. We may laugh together yet. Thank you all.